Insights Media.
Once again, the issue of the continued closure of the court is a very sad one, and Yorubas will say "Ori oni eja ti ma n baje." It is rather very unfortunate because this issue has actually turned those of us who are from here and who live here into butts of joke among some of us have, all of us have national outlook in our various endeavors, and we interact. And when you begin to see states with less intellectual endowment and resource bringing issues that should ordinarily not be discussed around here to us, it's like we're trying to actually just manage our injury and not add insult to it. Now, the National JUSUN, by our understanding, came, and the MOU was prepared. And as at the time the national leadership of JUSUN left, it was only the Ministry of Justice, the Attorney General, that didn't sign the MOU. That was before the committee was set up again to look into it. And at the level of that committee, they said they have resolved and that they are going to take, because initially JUSUN said they are not going to take 1 year. At a point, the Ministry of Justice said, we didn't promise them that we are going to pay. But when the government now set up a committee and they said, okay, we will look at these issues, and they went and they said JUSUN had agreed that they are going to pay 1 year of the wardrobe allowance, and that the issue of victimization by the CJ has to be talked about. Unfortunately, the CJ was not part of the meeting. It was the court registrar, Mr. Omishade, that was at the meeting. And of course, I saw there was no way, he's not the direct head of the court, neither is he the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission. But again, one of the issues that is key, that is currently keeping the judiciary waiting at home now, is the issue of GSC itself. Because there are some of the issues that only the Judicial Service Commission can resolve. And unfortunately, the secretary of GSC was summarily sent out of the judiciary by the executive arm of the government, and another was appointed for GSC. Now, the question is, if you know the history of Osun High Court very well, this was the same secretary, Mrs. Fagbola, that was removed by the CJ when he brought in the other man that had now been sent out. So it is now the executive that has appointed a secretary for GSC. So the reality of the matter is that how GSC will even convey to sit as it were today, I do not know. Because I can assure you that the CJ will not give any directive to the secretary that has been appointed by the executive arm of government. And that matter is actually now a subject of litigation in court. So part of the agreement, MOU, that was signed was that cases at the court has to be withdrawn. As I speak to you, I do not have a record of the fact that the case that was introduced by the immediate past secretary of GSC and the CJ herself have been withdrawn from the court. I don't know if any of you journalists have that information. I followed up and I know that matter has not been withdrawn up until today. So that is an issue upon which the whole MOU is resting. Then again, Chief Gwega Normal Law has a case in court at the National Industrial Court that is likely to come up either today or tomorrow on that matter again. So it is not yet a huru for courts to resume. But what we do know is that, as it is written in our address here, we know that there are political machinations on why the courts have not been opened. And until those who are behind that political machination seizes their hand very truly and sincerely, and that is the executive arm of government, until they are ready to remove their hand from all of this, the courts are not going to open. But the truth of the matter is that we can no longer go to court because Baba Omolo is already in court. There's no point wasting resources and time. We will wait for what the outcome of the industrial court will be. But what is most likely to happen is that the industrial court will sanction JUSUN to go and resume. And if JUSUN does not resume, the next line of action we are going to take from here is to also ask the state government to implement the no work, no pay rule against members of JUSUN. That way we will know whether it is the state government, the executive or government that is behind all of it. We know they are. But that will be a way to actually pin it to their door openly before the public. To say, it's either this happens or the court opens. It is rather very unfortunate. When you close the courts, it's not just about justice alone. It's not just about those who are languished. I was discussing with a magistrate some days ago, and she was saying that she can no longer sleep in her house because her conscience is saying that the number of bail applications that she has in her front because before the court went on strike on 22nd of November is alarming. And to now imagine that I have a bail application to answer to, and I don't have a place to sit down to answer to and get people out of jail. When you close the courts and people know that the administration of justice in that state is as good as comatose, people are not going to bring their investment because whether you like it or not in the business world, there's going to be disputes. And it's only the court that will resolve the matter of dispute in business. So when you know that the justice system is crippled and is comatose, you don't bring your business. And we're not talking about getting employment for people. We're talking about getting small businesses to run. So there are greater implications that we might not be seeing on the face value of what the court should actually do. So if a government that says it loves the people is doing all of this, how do we come back to say this governor loves the people? We are not seeing practical approach to this, but we are seeing their hand behind the machinations to keep the court perpetually closed because you think, and the reason why they are doing all of this is that they are waiting that the case that is before the NJC against the CJ, that the more they delay the resumption here, the more they put obstacles on the way of the court resuming. If the NJC now decides the case against the CJ, then they would have had their intention come to place that the CJ will no longer sit as the CJ. And we'll begin to see quite a number of things that are being done by this same administration illegally. And they know that some of these matters cannot be adjudicated upon by a federal court. They know what they are doing. There are quite a number of things that surrounds this court closure beyond what we can see here. But it's important, as many of us have information, to share with the public so that we know. As many people as can talk to them, as many journalists as can cry and knows the implication. Today people are protesting. If anything happens then and police arrest anybody, they will just remain there. No court to go and fight for your right and say, okay, let's go to court. So it's rather very unfortunate. We cannot be living in the banana republic in Osun State. While Nigeria is having our own share of crisis, we cannot be creating another one in Osun. So we are calling on you journalists to also help us dig deep into some of these matters, to find out and to know, beyond this information that we are giving you, that the state government, as it were today, is still behind the continued closure of courts. And we are appealing to them for the sake of the citizenry, for the sake of good governance, for the sake of prosperity of this state, that the court needs to reopen. Thank you.
Insights Media.